The takeaway coffee you buy on the way to work is quietly costing you more than a house deposit, not the $4. The 30 years of $4 growing while you sleep. Let me draw it for you. We are going to take $300 a month and follow it across 3 decades, step by step, so you can actually see the shape of it. Grab a marker. I have already got mine. First, the money itself. $300 a month. That is $10 a day, roughly. A lunch out, a couple of takeaway coffees, one subscription you forgot you had. Small stuff. Nothing that feels like wealth. Over 1 year, that adds up to $3,600. Already more than most people expect. But here is where it gets interesting. If you just hid that cash under your mattress for 30 years, you would end up with $108,000. Not bad for skipping lunch. But cash under a mattress does nothing. It just sits there while prices creep up around it. So let us put that money to work instead. Imagine you invested in a broad, boring, low-cost index fund, something that owns a tiny slice of thousands of companies. Historically, the stock market has returned around 7% a year after inflation, on average, over long stretches. Nobody can promise the future, but that is the number we will draw with. Here is the magic word: compounding. Your money earns a return. Then that return earns its own return. Then that earns more. It is a snowball rolling downhill, picking up more snow, getting faster the further it goes. Watch what happens. In year 1, you put in $3,600. Tiny growth, barely a bump. You might think this is pointless. Most people quit right here. By year 5, you have paid in $18,000, and it has grown to around $21,000. Nice, but not life-changing. This is the boring middle. Keep going. By year 10, your pot is around $52,000, and you have only paid in $36,000. The gap is opening up. The money is starting to pull its own weight. By year 15, you cross $95,000. Notice something. Your contributions have barely changed, still $300 a month, but the growth is accelerating on its own. By year 20, you are looking at roughly $156,000. You have only put in $72,000 of that. The rest, the market grew for you. Now the curve goes vertical. This is the part nobody sees because almost nobody waits this long. By year 25, your pot is around $244,000. And by year 30, $340,000. Read that again. You paid in $108,000 over the whole 30 years. The other $232,000 appeared out of thin air. Well, not thin air, out of patience. Here is the thing that breaks people's brains. More than half of that final number was created in the last 10 years alone. The snowball did most of its work at the very end, which means the people who quit at year 5 never saw the good part. They only lived through the boring bit and walked away right before the fireworks. Let me show you the enemy of all this. Fees. If your fund quietly charges you 2% a year instead of a small fraction of a percent, that same pot could shrink by tens of thousands of dollars over 30 years. Same money in, far less out. So keep costs low and boring. The other enemy is starting late. Waiting 10 years to begin does not cost you 10 years of contributions. It costs you the 10 most powerful years. The vertical part at the end. A person who starts at 25 and stops at 35 can still beat a person who starts at 35 and never stops. That is how brutal early time is. Now let me be straight with you. This is a simplified drawing, not a promise. Markets fall. Some years are ugly and red. There will be moments where your pot drops and your stomach drops with it. The 7% is a long-term average, not a yearly guarantee. Real life is bumpier than a clean curve, but the shape holds. Time plus regular investing plus low fees has been a quietly powerful combination for a very long time. So what do you actually do with this? First, find your $300. It might be less, and that is fine. $50 still grows. Look at what leaves your account each month and pick something to redirect. Second, automate it. Set up an amount that moves on payday before you can spend it. The best investors are often just the most forgetful ones. Third, choose something broad and low cost, and then do the hardest thing of all. Nothing. Leave it alone. Do not check it every day. Do not panic when it dips. The whole plan rests on you being boring for a very long time. The person who buys the coffee is not wrong to enjoy it. But now you can see the trade clearly, drawn out in front of you. $300 a month, 30 years, and a snowball that does most of its work when you have almost stopped believing in it. That is the whole secret. Start small, Start now and get out of the way. If this made the numbers finally click, subscribe. We draw one money idea like this every week.